What's going on, everybody? This is Timothy Rhyme. Welcome to Grown Men Sessions. This podcast is for men of all ages, ethnicities, and backgrounds who are in need of some guidance and are just ready to grow. We're creating a community of support, guidance, and shared experience that can be tapped into for generations to come. We will be interviewing grown men and letting them share their stories so we can learn from them and take away the gems. And all we ask is that if we were able to help you in any way, please like, subscribe, or leave a comment below. And so today I have my guest. His name is Aaron Garcia. I've known Aaron since I was like 10 years old, was my best friend like my whole life. We went our separate ways, but then we reconnected recently. And he's got a wealth of experience that I'm really excited to have him share with you guys. So here we go. What's up, Aaron?
Hey, Tim. Thanks
How's
for
it going?
inviting me, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. Like, this is real special for me. This is gonna be our first episode, and I get to talk to like somebody I've known my whole life, pretty much. So it's pretty cool, bro. All right, and we got the similar like hair and beard thing going. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Hey,
It's
low maintenance. That's what it is.
Exactly. That's what I'm here for.
Right.
All right, man. Well, today, like I said, we have Aaron on. Me and Aaron, we grew up in South Sacramento. And I stayed in South Sac. Aaron moved to like the Vacaville area. But even after he moved away, we still stay connected for a while. But Aaron, do me a favor and kind of give the audience like a little bit of a brief rundown of like how your childhood was and like how it was growing up for you.
Okay, I'll try to make it pretty brief. But yeah, raised in South Sacramento. I've known Timmy for most of my life. What else? I have one brother, a sister. Parents. We lived in I guess you could say like a hood. We lived in a hood, right? wasn't that great, but we did what we had to do.
Yep.
Life was rough at times. Life had its rewards, but other than that, I moved around, the Bay Area, back and forth, and now I'm currently in Vallejo.
Hey, let me ask you a question, man. Do you ever find yourself like kind of tripping out, like, when you think back about like how you grew up and now that you're a dad and you kind of when I talk about my childhood to my daughter, I find myself trying to filter it so she doesn't realize, or she doesn't like, I don't present to her like how bad it really was sometimes,
right,
or like how the neighborhoods was or something like that.
Right.
You ever find yourself doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I have a 17-year-old and a 7-year-old. I have two daughters, so my 7-year-old, not too much yet. I'm sure she'll ask more, but my 17, it's a filtration. It's like they have the little ratings on the movies, right? You give what that they can handle at that point, and then as life goes on, you use those things that happen in your past as lessons for them in the future, right?
Right.
So, yeah, filtered.
Yeah, I know what you mean, bro. It's kind of hard sometimes depending on the question, but
right.
It'll all make its way out eventually.
Yes, it always does.
Yeah. So like I said, I understand like your background because we have a very similar background because we grew up together. But I'm curious because I know when I started like making my mistakes, like when do you think you started making your mistakes in life?
I mean, as a kid, I'd say I started making my mistake. I started getting in trouble. Let's just say I'll say that. That's my mistake.
Right.
Probably around third grade.
Okay.
Yeah, second or third grade. But I was always up to something. First grade, you always up to something. But my first mistakes were third, fourth grade, and it just kind of how things go.
Yeah, I know what you mean, man. You start like pushing boundaries and start like questioning authority and
right. I mean, it's growing. It's like trying to find where you're at,
But when do you think like your mistakes started coming to when you realized like, oh dang, like this is a lot more serious than just like saying a bad word or or getting detention, you know what I mean?
Right. I would say to really know the effect of what I was doing. I think it honestly it didn't happen until like my late 20s.
Yeah.
Like I really, when you're young, you just like you think you're invincible, and then you get older and you're like, yeah, stuff ain't functioning correctly anymore, and you're sitting back and looking. So yeah, probably in my late 20s. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I have a similar outlook. I think I was like goofing off and just like being careless for a really long time. I think my wake up moment for me was when my daughter was born.
Mm,
But I was still like goofing off a little bit even after my daughter was born. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I really didn't get a good grasp on like like the bigger picture probably till like almost till I hit 30.
Oh, yeah. That's yeah. That's yeah. Mine was 28. I think I was 28. Yeah. Same thing
So
though.
so let me ask you this: do you think that you ever made a mistake that set you back?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I made many investments, right? And I've had businesses, and I've had success ones and I've had failed ones, but I think the biggest one is I invested some money a while ago, and I thought everything was going to be good and come through, and it ended up being a bad investment, and it sent me back around 10 grand. So like I'm like, what do you do? What do you do? You can't do nothing. You can't. Who you gonna talk to? That's it. You made the investment. You knew the responsibility and also what could happen, and the worst happened. So yeah, it's about 10
Right.
grand.
Right. Okay. Yeah, man. I mean that definitely would hurt.
Yeah, yeah,
10 grand isn't something that you just can lose like and not think about it. You know what I mean?
right, right.
So like we're gonna talk about resilience today.
Mhm.
So what do you think? So let me ask you, like, what do you think resilience is?
Well, resilience is like not stopping from problems. So like, for example, for my life, I've had 4 companies. I'm working on my 5th one. The first 4 were failures. If I stopped at my first one, then there's not really resilience there, right? So I
Right.
just keep going. So I made the next one, and I made the next one, and I revised every time I made it. Then I ended up going to a different area. So I kept pushing.
Mhm.
Resilience to me is you keep going, you keep trying. You just even though failure is there, you're going to succeed. You know what I mean? So yeah.
But I feel like failure only comes when you like completely just give up and quit.
True.
I
Yes.
mean, and I've heard basketball coaches, life coaches talk about you either win or you learn. Like there's no such thing as losses. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just some of them have different price tags attached to them, or some of them have different consequences attached to them. You know?
Right. Right. Yeah. I hear you.
So, like when it comes to like your businesses or just your life in general, um, what do you think was like a moment where you had to kind of like find that resilience within yourself, other than this time where you lost the 10 grand or that you had to keep moving forward?
Well, I've always had a push. I've always just had a motivation, like personally.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but see, that's just like one effect. Like, I actually really had to start working on myself and how I dealt with failures. That's another issue, like having to
Right.
learning how to deal with it instead of walking away. But like you said, like learn from it. That didn't start till like my early 30s. I started learning
Mm-hmm.
that, and it's a progress. Just trying to define who you are within the problem as it goes by. If that makes sense.
So what you're saying is it's never too late.
Never too late.
I agree. I think there's a lot of people, including myself at times, that thought and still think I'm too old to do this.
Right. Well,
I
I
mean,
mean,
do
I
you
got
think? Now go ahead.
well, like for instance, like when people say too old, I don't even take that into consideration. One thing that I heard that blew that whole thing out of my thought process was this lady. She was when I got my bachelor's degree. She was 75 years old getting her bachelor's degree. Okay.
That's
When I,
tough.
when I when I heard that, I'm like, wait a minute, man. It's like she's pushing all the limitations of what people put on people. So I'm
Hmm.
like, you know what? That's cool because I went to the army when I was 28, I got my bachelor's degree when I was 33 or 34, and now I'm working on my
Nice.
master's now. So I'll be
Nice.
working on my master's soon. I'm 37 right now, so it don't
Oh
matter.
man, tell me about it. When I got into Cal State Northridge and I got into the accounting program, I swear, dude, I was like the old man of the group. Like everybody in there was like fresh out of high school or like in their early 20s or barely turning 20.
Hmm.
Dude, I was like, at the time, I think I was like maybe almost 30,
Mm, yeah.
you know? No, I was older than that. Yeah, I was like probably like early 30. This was like 2013. Yeah, so I mean, I'm telling you, man, like I felt like an old man, and like
Right.
even like like sometimes when I would talk to these people, these kids, pretty much, and they would tell me their stories, and I'm like, man, I cannot relate. You know what I mean? Because like
Right. Right.
I have a kid, I have bills. Like you guys still living at home, telling me stories about like what happened with your mom. Like it's just different.
Right. Right. Right.
But I mean, I did get discouraged at times, thinking like, man, like am I too old to be doing this? But it's not too late, man. Like I ended up, like out of college, I ended up getting a job at a big four accounting firm, which is like a big deal in the accounting world. And then I ended up going on to get my CPA, and then like completely broke all the ideas in my mind of like, no, I can't do this for whatever reason,
Right.
had to keep going, bro. But yeah, man. I mean, I think resilience is very very like crucial, no matter what you do or no matter where you're at in life. Because, like you said, man, like it's just about just keeping on going.
Right.
But I really do feel like I think that separates a lot of people from success and just mediocrity is the ability to just keep going.
Right.
But I mean, what would you like? What kind of advice would you give to somebody that maybe is stuck at that point and is like, should I keep going or should I just deal with what this or just settle for what I have right here?
Mm. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. This is what got me to be more of like an entrepreneur, working in acquisitions and mergers. I don't want somebody to tell me how much I should make. I don't think anybody does, right? I mean, we all settle for it when we go get a paycheck, right? I mean, we all work
Right.
our hours. We go, and this person says you're gonna make this much, and you're going to live this way, right? I mean, because your only income is in that direction. So for me, it's like, why not push more? Why not get more? I mean, what's really stopping you? Is it time? I mean, if millionaires have the same amount of time as you have, then what are we waiting on? Like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people like get scared. I do too. Like doing things out of the box that you would not normally do. I mean, I've had to talk to CEOs of banks. I'm not. I mean, I'm from the hood. Talking to a CEO from the bank. This person had a great background. He got great degrees. Like he's way smarter than I am, but still, I'm able to talk to a gentleman like that.
Do you find that like uncomfortable or intimidating at all?
Intimidating? No, I don't. I really find a person intimidating, but more awkward.
Yeah.
Like I want to make sure that my words are, adequate in the conversation.
Right.
You know.
I've my wife has made fun of me at times because she says that I know how to switch up like the way I say things depending
Yeah.
on who I'm talking to.
Right. 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 Yeah. Yeah. And that's great. That's like
Yeah.
mirroring. That's what they call mirroring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I just feel like you have to be adaptable, man. I mean, like you said, I mean, we're from South Sac, man. Like people don't talk like that in South Sac, like
Right.
I mean, they have their own like language pretty much, their own slang. I mean, you go to like coming out here to LA from South Sac, like I had a culture shock, bro, because even some of the things that I said and being Latin in Southern California, talking the way that I talk, like
Mm-hmm.
even some of the Mexicans were looking at me like, why does he talk like that?
Right. Right. Right.
But it is what it is, man. I mean, I think the fact that you have that mindset is going to be the thing that just keeps driving you, bro.
That's all. I mean, that's all we have as like as people. Even when you're young, it's all you have. Um, what is your goal in life? What do you want? Like nothing's gonna be handed to you. Like I was watching. So I don't watch TV that much. Okay, I don't. And I ended up watching this movie and watching some commercial stuff. I'm like, man, this stuff is horrible. And this is the reason why, because they paint the picture of this people living this fabulous lives and doing all this fabulous stuff, which is attainable, but they don't show all the hard work behind it.
Right.
They don't show the hours and hours of staying up late, reading books, studying, doing whatever schooling you need to do, networking with people. I mean, that stuff takes time, and hard work is what we're going to have to do.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's the resilience that you're talking about, man. It's just doing all those little things that add up to like big things.
Right.
Like that discipline, that those goals. Like how you said, man, like, who's going to be doing that extra work, you know what I mean, to get to that goal, because that's what's going to make you feel good about yourself is when you get to that goal,
right.
when you achieve that thing that you've been trying to achieve. But I think like to be resilient, like you have to be able to say like, okay, like if I don't reach that goal, like by this day or time, I'm not going to give up. I'm just going to keep going.
Right. Set another goal. Yep. Set it smaller.
Yep.
Yeah.
That way, when you reach that one, you'll feel good. And then bam, like you're still moving forward. But then the next time you're going to hit that other goal that you were trying to hit.
Right. And I mean, you can even, for like small, like some people don't think about this, but the simple things in life are actually small goals you don't even think about.
Yep.
For instance, making your bed. That is number one goal of the day you should always do. Make your bed. Why? Because you accomplished something. Like there's something about accomplish something, especially for, men and women, it's, you just want to do something to make you feel better. Well, start making little goals around the house, and then have small goals and have big goals, but have a plan to those goals.
Heck yeah. Oh, I'm a big fan of like just writing everything down, man. I have my books of my to-do list, which are pretty much my short-term and long-term goals. And some of them, like, I'll write like, 10 per page. And some of them, like, I won't get to until like I'm like 6 pages past, because it's more of like a long-term goal that I have to like build up into.
Right.
But then like next to that goal, like I'll have like a goal of like redoing my kitchen. And that's going to take me, you know what I mean, like some time. But right next to that goal, it'll be, pay this bill. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but it's like, it's just the satisfaction of like being like, okay, I wrote it down, I'm going to scratch it off.
Right.
So you kind of get this sense of like moving forward, you get a sense of like, like even if it's a small accomplishment, it's an accomplishment,
Something, because, I'm in this phase right now that I'm literally logging everything down I do all day. So like when I wake up, I write it down. Okay, woke up, I did this for this time. And then I'm tracking my time because I need to make the best of my time to get to be sufficient in my goal. So like I'm breaking more and more down to where, I'm trying to get to this goal faster. So I have to be more disciplined with my life. If that makes sense.
Oh man, dude, that's pretty awesome. That takes a lot of self-awareness to be able to because I mean, you have to be honest with yourself and say like, I did this at this time when, nobody's watching you, nobody's going to check it. You could be like, well, I didn't really spend that much time doing that.
Right.
I wasn't really on Facebook that long,
Right. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect, I mean, sometimes like I'm scrolling on Facebook, because right now I'm looking for a car for my oldest because, she's gonna be driving soon. So I'm on there, and then a little like an ad pops up. So I look at it, I'm like, what, 15 minutes? What am I doing? I'm looking at ads when I was supposed to be looking at a car. Like I'm way off track. Now I got to get back on track. Let me go back to my paper and let me write down I was on Facebook for 15 minutes, but I wasn't supposed to be.
But I feel like just the fact that you're aware, man, like it just keeps you like, okay, like I drifted here, but I'm gonna come back to center,
Right. You always got to reevaluate like at night, I'll reevaluate my day. I look at my day and say, okay, well, how much time did I really give myself to actually do work? Or did I really focus in on this? But it's really a breakdown for you to get to your goal. That's really the main thing for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I totally get it. I feel like, when people set the goal of like, say, I'm going to go to college and graduate and get a degree and get a job and have a family and all that stuff, like all that stuff is great.
It is.
But you gotta establish and write down all the little goals that are along the way,
Right.
It's like setting yourself a little trail, you know, like a little path.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I barely started doing that. Like, I think when I was in college, like in college, I started doing that.
Yeah, and that is good. And one thing I forgot to say, when we're talking about our age and going to school and all that, I've been reading a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And
Yeah, good book.
yeah, there is a chapter at the end was saying that most people that are successful are between their 40s and 50s when they first become successful. And
Oh, I believe it.
that made me think. I mean, when you get to your late 20s, you start thinking differently, and you get your early 30s, and it's like you're in your mid 30s, and you start thinking about the ending goal because, you're technically halfway done with your life. I mean, if in reality, right?
Yeah.
So you really have to look at these things and be like, okay, well, even though I'm going to turn 40, it doesn't mean I can't be successful because most millionaires are. So, you know what I mean? So you got to give yourself some kind of hope.
But I feel like, like that's part of that mindset of just like not being so hard on yourself, and
Right.
kind of being nice to yourself. And, like, what do you think about like, people being able to like tell themselves those things?
Well, first I would say for anybody that has no direction, what do you want? Ask yourself, what do you want? And then why do you want it?
Mm.
And then how are you going to get it? You got to ask yourself questions because you're only going to be
Yep.
the honest person. Unless you
Yep.
go to a psychologist, therapist, whatever, you got to pay them out of pocket. And they're still
Mm-hmm.
not with you every day. You're with yourself 24 hours a day, 365
Yep.
days. So ask yourself questions, write them down, see if you feel like that the next day. Just marinate on it, and don't rush yourself, because one thing I know is I'm hard on myself because I want to rush. But something that is worth having, takes time to get.
Mm-hmm.
So take your time, write down your goals, write down your plan, you know, even look on who you're hanging around. I mean, really the whole aspect of who you are is who you hang around, what you're doing at the time, and what you're thinking.
Yeah.
You know.
I really feel like that idea of resilience is pretty much summed up in what you just said about like, just having that mindset, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Of like, what do you want and why do you want it? Because that's going to be your motivation.
Right.
Once you figure out your motivation, and once you figure out like what it is that you're setting your sights on, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that is going to be the determining factor that's going to drive you forward into your path.
Right.
Because I feel like, I was lost for a long time, man, and I made a bunch of mistakes, bro. Like, like getting in trouble with the law, like, drinking, partying, all that stupid stuff, messing around with girls. I mean, it's all fun when you're doing it, and sometimes you don't really realize that it's not a good thing
Mm-hmm.
until like you start realizing like, man, there's more to life than this. And then
Right.
I had to ask myself what you said. I had to ask myself what I want. Well, I want a good life for my kids.
Right.
And why do I want it? Because I don't want them to live the way that I did. I don't want them to have to grow up the way that I did.
Right.
How are we going to get it? We're going to get our education. We're going to stop with the nonsense. We're going to like be healthy, and just be disciplined, man. And
Right.
I feel like, if people can make that decision and come to terms with that with themselves, everything else kind of just comes easy after that, in my opinion. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I think a life goal is built off of past experiences. So like for me, so like what I'm doing, right? I wrote down, what is it, about 10 affirmations for myself
mm-hmm,
that I say
mm-hmm,
them in the morning and I say them before I go to bed. The reason why I say affirmations is to help me, to keep me on point each day, but it also speaks to your subconscious as well. But the second thing is why I'm doing this whole. I mean, I'm dealing with a lot of money. I don't want to be poor. That's flat out. I don't want to be poor. I want to be able to help friends and family. My goal is to, expand my life and expand helping everyone else out. So
yep,
what is your goal? I mean, do you like to help people? Do you like to do this? Do you like to do that? It could be anything. Just make something, write something down. It could be anything. Write it down.
right.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to share maybe one of your affirmations?
Yeah, sure. So before I share this one, when I owned my other companies, I was making like on good months, I'd make 10,000. I'd be able to have 10,000 cash, that would come to me. All the other money would go to the business. Those are good. Those are good months, Um,
Heck yeah.
it wasn't a lot of money if you compare that to people that are making hundred thousands a month, but it was a good start.
Yeah.
So like one of my affirmations, it says, I am going to make 10,000 a month on my first 4 businesses and joyfully accomplish this in 6 months while increasing my net worth each month by $5,000 or more.
I
So
like that you're really specific with the numbers and with the time frame.
yeah,
Because I've read in other books too that you have to do that if you're gonna like have that vision and have that thought.
yeah, you got to
It can't be like whenever it happens. It has to be like specific.
right, definite.
Yep.
Yeah, and one thing is in your affirmations, you got to say something in it. So like for instance, I have here's the word. I'm going to happily, that's the word. And the other one was joyfully, or happily have my daughters in private schools in 1 year. So like you have to use those words that like bring emotion out, because that's how you're going to respond. Your heart, is going to respond that way.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I mean, you're speaking my language, bro. Like I'm an MC, so I feel like words are like very powerful,
They are.
and they're even more powerful. People don't realize this. They're more powerful the ones that you tell to yourself.
Right. Right. Right.
But man, dude, this has been really cool. I feel like you just gave us a lot of stuff to think about, including myself. So thank you, man. But before you go, I would like to ask you a question. And I'm hoping that there's somebody out there that's listening that can take away something from this. But if you could go back and do one thing different in your life, what would it be?
Honestly, it would be focus on one thing. So like for me, I'm like, I'm a thinker. I'm always reading books. I'm always studying. So like I'm like, oh, here and there. And at one time I was like going after 4 endeavors at once. You know how tiring that is? That's tiring. And I literally had a mental breakdown because I couldn't handle all that information jammed in
Yeah.
all day, So
Oh yeah.
I literally stay focused on one goal. Stay focused on one goal. Do that goal as best as you can, as hard as you can, as long as you can. They say if you read this like books in one industry for 5 years, like you'll be like the head of the industry in 5 years. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, 5 years goes by fast.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know what you mean, man. I feel like even for myself, man, like doing this podcast, like I'm so focused on like good information, like, inspirational, motivational, like, different ways of thinking and living. And like I've learned so much in the past month that I'm kicking myself like, why didn't I do this earlier? You
Right.
know, because it's not like it would have taken me like, a lifetime to learn these things. Like I'm learning things like every day.
Right.
But man, dude, thank you so much, Aaron. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story, your information, your experiences. That's what this is all about. We're just sharing our experiences so that hopefully somebody else out there can get something from it and learn and grow and help be a better person. So thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks again, man. I appreciate your time.
All right, guys, that was the Grown Man Sessions. Um, I'm going to end by saying this, that one person can change the world, but it takes one person at a time, and that one person is you. Tune in next time. Peace.